It was a Thursday night, one of those slow-burn evenings in early spring when the air still held a whisper of winter. Her family had gathered at her parents' house. Big white colonial with creaky floors and wine glasses that always seemed fuller when someone was about to say something sharp. Her father liked to play host, her mother liked to eavesdrop, and her sisters always brought drama like it was a side dish no one asked for, but everyone sampled anyway. We were celebrating her promotion. She'd made partner at her firm. A big deal, apparently. She told me a few days earlier over coffee, half smiling, distracted by her phone. I made partner, she'd said, like she was mentioning she'd picked up oat milk instead of regular. That's amazing, I told her, meaning it. I reached for her hand. She pulled it back to answer a text. By the time the dinner rolled around, I had convinced myself I was just being sensitive. I was proud of her. Honestly, I'd watched her work herself into the ground for years. Early mornings, late nights, whispering with clients in the guest room while I did dishes or folded our laundry. I admired her grind, even when I felt like I was watching her vanish into it. Her dad opened with a toast, long-winded and half-remembered, about how proud he was. Her mom dabbed her eyes, and everyone clapped. I raised my glass too, smiled, even said something nice when it was my turn. But when I turned to her, looked in her eyes, she rolled them. Not big and dramatic, but enough. Enough for her sisters to smirk. Enough for her mother to lean over and whisper something I couldn't catch. Enough for me to feel it. It wasn't just the eye roll. It was the way she'd been all night. Polite, bored, vaguely irritated by everything I said. I asked if she wanted more wine. She said, "I'm not a child." I asked if she liked the roast, and she responded, "What kind of question is that?" I tried not to let it sting. I kept telling myself she was just tired. The job, the pressure, the eyes on her from every corner of that table. Later, as the meal wound down, I stepped away to the kitchen to help her youngest sister, Liv, clean up. She was the only one who didn't talk in riddles and half-insults. She handed me a stack of dessert plates and pulled her phone from her back pocket to check a message. That's when it happened. Her phone slipped. Nothing dramatic, just a clumsy fumble. It landed screen up on the granite island, screen still lit, open on the photo app. A moment. That's all it took. I shouldn't have seen it. I didn't go looking. But there it was. A picture. My wife. Her face flushed, laughing in a way I hadn't seen in a long time. Her head rested on a man's shoulder. Not someone I knew. Not someone from work, at least not her work. He looked young. Younger than me. Sharp-jawed. Confident in the kind of way that comes from getting everything you want without asking twice. Then another photo. And another. Her in a black dress I'd never seen before. Her holding his hand. Her curled up beside him in a hotel room, half drunk and happy. Liv saw my face before she saw the screen. "Oh my God," she whispered, snatching the phone up, but it was too late. I just nodded. Quiet. Measured. My hands still wet from the sink. "I didn't mean to," she started. "It's fine," I said. "It's not your fault." She looked like she wanted to say more, but I left the kitchen. Went back to the table. Sat beside my wife. She was laughing at something her sister had said. She turned to me with that same performative smile she wore around my family when she didn't want to fight. I looked at her, really looked. The curve of her cheek. The way her fingers curled around her wine glass like they had something to prove. She had no idea I knew. That was the moment something inside me shifted. Not rage. Not sadness. Just clarity. She'd been slipping away from me for months. Years maybe. But I thought if I just held on long enough, we'd find our way back. I thought marriages had seasons. I thought this was winter. But now? Now it felt like I'd been holding on to the hem of someone walking out the door for so long, I hadn't realized they were already gone. She leaned in toward me then, touched my arm. "You okay? You've been quiet." I smiled, slow and easy. "Just thinking." She laughed. "Try not to hurt yourself." And I watched her laugh, thinking she was the cleverest person in the room. Thinking I was still the fool. Thinking I would never know. But I did. And that night, she didn't just lose my respect. She lost something else. The ride home that night was quiet, the kind of quiet where even the engine hum feels like an intrusion. She sat beside me in the passenger seat, scrolling through her phone, completely unaware that I knew. I glanced at her once, caught the way her lips curled slightly as she typed something. I wondered if it was him. I wondered if he made her laugh the way I used to. I didn't ask. When we pulled into the driveway, she barely waited for the car to stop before unbuckling her seatbelt. "Can you grab the wine from the back?" she asked, already halfway up the steps. Sure, I said, and I did. But I didn't bring it inside. Instead, I stood there in the garage for a moment, letting the chill of the night soak through my sleeves. The house lights glowed warm behind the windows, but they didn't feel like mine anymore. Not really. They felt like a set, a stage, and I just stepped off it. I brought the bottle in eventually. She was in the living room, barefoot, curled up with a throw blanket, and some cooking show humming softly from the TV. She glanced up at me as I set the wine on the counter. Thanks, she said. You've been weird tonight. Have I? Yeah. At dinner. All tense. And now you're acting like you saw a ghost. I paused. Maybe I did. She narrowed her eyes. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. I shrugged, letting the word hang. She stared a moment longer, like she was trying to read my face, then shook her head and went back to the TV. I went upstairs, closed the bedroom door behind me, and sat on the edge of the bed in the dark. I should have felt angry, or broken, or something, but all I felt was tired. In the morning, she left early. Some work meeting, probably. Maybe a brunch with him. I didn't ask. I didn't even say goodbye. I just listened to her heels click down the hall, the jingle of keys, the sound of the door shutting behind her. Then I pulled out my laptop. I knew I had to be careful. I couldn't just ask Liv for the photos. That would put her in an impossible spot, and truth be told, I didn't need more. I'd seen enough. What I needed now was to understand how long it had been going on. What else had she taken from me, silently, behind the curtain of our routine? It's funny how betrayal sharpens your focus. I started retracing things. Old calendar events, travel receipts, credit card charges, photos she'd posted on social media, ones I hadn't thought twice about before, but now felt like pieces of a puzzle I'd never noticed was there. One picture stood out. A weekend in Chicago she claimed was for a legal conference. She'd texted me late each night with vague updates. Tired, long day, love you. But in the photo, she was wearing the same dress from one of the pictures on Liv's phone. Same bracelet. Same lipstick. That was 6 months ago. 6 months. Half a year of lies. Of sleeping beside me. Of letting me cook for her, care for her, make plans for vacations we'd never take. That night, I didn't sleep. I stayed up replaying every conversation from the past year, filtering them through a new lens. A crueler lens. The jokes she made at my expense in front of friends. The growing list of things I forgot to do that she used as proof I wasn't trying. The way she seemed more animated texting than talking to me. I'd blamed myself for all of it. My long work hours. My low energy. My lack of ambition, as she once put it during an argument she barely remembered. But now I knew the truth. It wasn't that I'd changed. It was that she had someone else. By the time the sun came up, I was calm. Hollow maybe, but calm. There's something powerful about clarity, even if it comes wrapped in pain. It focuses you. Strips everything unnecessary. I made breakfast that morning. Just for me. Eggs, toast, coffee. She came back around 10, breezing in with her sunglasses still on, and the faint smell of unfamiliar cologne trailing her like a secret. Morning, she said, pouring herself a glass of orange juice. Morning, I replied, just as easily. She didn't notice the difference. Not yet. That weekend, her parents invited us to brunch. Another celebration, they said. Her sister had just bought a condo, and they wanted everyone together. I said yes. She looked surprised, like she expected me to bow out. But I didn't. I showered, shaved, dressed in the shirt she once said made me look too serious. Maybe I was finally starting to take myself seriously. At brunch, I played the role. Polite, attentive, even charming. Her family noticed. Her father clapped me on the back. Her mother told me I looked thinner, more alive. You two should take a trip, she said. Rekindle things. You've been together so long, it'd be a shame not to. I smiled. That's a great idea. My wife didn't smile back. She looked wary, like she'd felt a shift in the script but couldn't quite place it. Then it happened. Her other sister, Jenna, the middle one, the one always trying too hard, leaned over during dessert, showing us photos from some recent trip to Tulum. She was flipping through them quickly when she paused. Oh, she said, and her thumb hovered over a photo. It was my wife. Same black dress. Same man from Liv's phone. But this wasn't some blurry night shot. This was sharp, clear, sunlight on her face, his hand on her waist. Jenna swiped too fast, trying to hide it, but it was too late. I'd seen it. And this time, so had everyone else. Her mother blinked. Her father leaned forward. My wife froze. A beat of silence. Just one. But it cracked everything open. I don't remember who spoke first. Maybe it was Jenna, mumbling something about, "That must have been a mistake." Or maybe it was her mother, sharp and suspicious, saying, "Wait, who's that with you?" But I do remember the sound of my wife's chair legs scraping against the tile as she stood up too quickly. Her napkin fell to the floor, fluttered like it was trying to get out of the room before things collapsed. "That's just a friend," she said, too fast, too high-pitched. "It's nothing. Can we not do this here?" Her father turned to her, brows furrowed. "A friend? You're in his lap." Jenna whispered, "I didn't mean," and went quiet when my wife shot her a look that could have frozen fire. I didn't say anything. I just sat there, letting them circle her like sharks, not out of cruelty, but because I wanted her to feel what it was like, being caught, being questioned, being the center of an unraveling story. "Was this in Chicago?" her mother asked. "No," she snapped. "Can we drop it?" "Because," her mom continued, "you told us that weekend was a work trip. A conference. I remember because we were supposed to watch the dog." Her father stood then. Not fast, not angry, just slow, sad. "Tell me it's not what it looks like." My wife looked at me then, desperate. "Are you seriously just sitting there?" I met her gaze. "Calm. You rolled your eyes at me the night this all started. Do you remember that?" She blinked. "What?" "Family dinner. Your promotion. I brought you wine. You rolled your eyes. I told myself it was nothing, that you were tired." Her mouth opened slightly, but then Liv dropped her phone, and I saw. The silence at the table was sudden and total, like all the air had been vacuumed out of the room. Her hands trembled at her sides. "You went through her phone?" "I didn't have to. It was right there." "That's not the point." "It is the point." I kept my voice soft. "Because from that moment on, I knew. And I gave you every chance to come clean." She glanced at her parents, at Jenna, at the half-eaten cake. "You're humiliating me." "No," I said. "You did that. I'm just here." That's when she made the mistake. She lunged, not physically, but emotionally. She stepped forward, tears starting in her eyes, and said, "It didn't mean anything. He was just, I was lonely, and you." And that was it. I stood up slowly, pulled a folded envelope from my pocket, and placed it on the table. "That's the first draft of our separation agreement. I'll give you a few days to review it." Her eyes widened. "What?" "I already met with a lawyer. Weeks ago. The assets are divided fairly. No drama. Just clean and quiet." "You're ending this?" Her voice cracked. "I'm ending the pretending," I said. "You left this marriage long before I did. I just finally stopped pretending you hadn't." She looked stunned, hurt, as if she hadn't expected to lose. As if she'd still believed I'd take her back, that I'd been like I always had, just to keep the peace. Her father exhaled, a long, heavy breath. "I think you should leave." She turned to him, betrayed. "Dad, now." No yelling, no grand scene, just the weight of disappointment landing like a gavel. She grabbed her purse and walked out without another word. The door closed behind her. No one moved. I stood there a moment longer, then quietly excused myself. Jenna caught up with me in the driveway. "I didn't mean to show you that," she said. "I know." She hesitated. "But I'm glad you saw it." I nodded. "So am I." That night, I didn't cry. I didn't drink. I didn't rage or destroy anything. I just packed a small bag, checked into a quiet hotel on the edge of town, and lay in bed staring at the ceiling. And I felt it. Not peace. Not yet. But the beginning of it. Because sometimes the most painful truths don't break you. They free you. And that night, when she lost my respect in front of the people who once believed in her, she lost more than a marriage. She lost the version of me that would have waited forever. She lost the man who still hoped. She lost the quiet love she thought would never walk away. And I found the door. And finally, I walked through it.